Who's that girl? It's Helena Egan, aka Helly R. Welcome back, Innies. Nautilus here with another edition of Severance Theories. This is number 11. In this episode, we're going to talk about Helly and where I think her story is going to take her. And with that, of course, we're going to talk about some theories and some supporting ideas. I think we can safely say that this Helly character is a great example of the nature versus nurture argument, if there ever was one. We can probably chalk that up to how she was raised, or more to the point, who she was raised by. I get the distinct impression that it's next to impossible to be born into the Egan clan and not suffer from some level of derangement by the time you're an adult. I mean, being raised Egan must jack a kid up. You can't completely blame her for the fact that she grew up a little bit off. That said, the Helly that wakes up on the conference room table is a totally likable person who doesn't give off any psycho vibes. However, the show seems to hint that every Innie shares a similar base personality with their worldly counterparts. So we're set up to believe that Helly's outie is this heartless person who doesn't give a crap about her welfare. So yeah, it's true, we did get a little of this character's personality on the outside, but since all we have is this little funky video, can we really say that this is enough to go on? Could there be more to the outie Helena than the first impression the writer served up? Maybe, but by the end of this episode, you may see things differently. Before we begin, this is the part where I plug stuff, so with that, I'd like to welcome KBD Axio, I hope I'm saying your name right, as the newest channel patron. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate the support, and I hope that seeing your name in lights puts a smile on your face. Look for your name in the closing credits of my videos going forward. Also, the channel has a Discord. It's free to everyone. I lurk on my own Discord. It's weird. I made the Discord as a place for fans to chat about the shows that I cover on this channel, so check it out in the link. I might actually be there. Alright, enough of that. Let's dive. You remember this scene. This is the one where she's reciting the apology that she was forced to read by Milchick, but she's in the bathroom. But the thing is with this scene, it seems like when she's saying it, she really means it. What was the significance of that moment? I think what's happening here is that Helly is realizing that her outie is a real piece of work. So she decides to do the most, even though it might mean the end of her own life too. So this is like revenge, but it's the kind where you want to take your enemy down with you. That takes real commitment and a seething hatred for somebody, which tells you just how much she despises her outie. Now imagine knowing that the person you hate this much is you. It's complicated. The reason why she changes her mind and decides to find another way of escaping is because she begins to care about the other members of MDR. Well, why does this matter? Well, it not only makes for a complex character that struggles with internal conflicts between her two different sides, but this will be the through line of everything that happens to this character in the seasons to come. At least that's what I believe. Helly's situation is unique compared to the other members of MDR. She's directly related to the creators of Severance. Not to mention, she plays a part in promoting its spread to the masses. She volunteered to undergo this process herself to vet its safety. But what if outie Helly has plans of her own? And you feel the tinfoil tightening. As I see it, there are two major possible angles for Helly in this whole Severance scenario. And I'm talking about outie Helly here. One, she did this because she really wanted to help her father out. She's a true blue believer that steps into pinch hit for the fam. She could do so because she's so dedicated to the idea of Severance that she'd do anything she can to help see this through. Or it could be that she has a complicated relationship with Pops and she just wants to make him proud. So she chooses to go through this despite having some reservations. Parental approval is an incredibly powerful motivator in most people's lives, even though we don't like to admit it most of the time. Either way, the idea that she is truly down with Severance is a possibility, and it would make that funky video that she sent her Innie make perfect sense if taken at face value. But, and I know you knew this was coming, what if Helly never wanted to get severed and schlep around the secret floors of Lumen in the first place? What if she was just pressured into doing it and then caved? Once again, to make old James and the rest of the board proud. I still can't get used to that name. In the just finish the name, just add the S. The aforementioned funky video would still make sense if she was pretending, or she had been coached into reading a script to convince her Innie Helly to quit misbehaving down there. The whole MDR operation seems to be pretty important to the board. We see this in the way that they salivated over her finishing one of the files on her own. It's a big deal, whatever she did, so it wouldn't be too crazy to imagine outie Helly being willing to say whatever it takes to be as convincing as possible so as not to wreck the mission down there. And it's the specific wrinkle in the situation that leads to speculation that outie Helly might have an agenda of her own. Now, this might be the most out there when it comes to possibilities here, but it's still interesting to entertain. What if Helly signed up for Severance knowing that her innie would rebel because it's all part of the big plan? It might be a situation where Helly just knows herself well enough to know that her innie would be a miserable person and probably raise some hell down there. Helly could have planted herself inside so that her innie could wreck things from the inside out, and she would do this because Outie Helly is actually opposed to Severance. One of the things I wonder about is how will Helly fit into the story after the events of the first season's finale. Remember, this woman got on stage and told hundreds, if not thousands of people that Severance is an inhumane form of torture. So how will Lumen spin this to try to cover it up? How do they square this one away? Will we ever see a severed Helly again? There's a reason to ask this question. I can't think of a reason why she would still need to be on the severed floor now, because she's already done her job, right? She just needed to show the world that Severance is so safe that the guy who created it let his own kid do it. Or is this a false assumption? I find it hard to picture how her story progresses if we only ever deal with her outie going forward. So there's gotta be some reason why we see her as an innie again. I'm not sure how the writers would explain it. If they send an innie Helly back down to the severed floor after season 1, well, that would set off some red flags for me personally, because I would take that as proof that there's something unique about the people who are hired in MDR and that she is actually needed to do the job. And if she has this unique unknown quality, then the possibility that everyone in MDR is connected by this fact suddenly becomes real. One question brought up by fans of the show that I think is relevant here is, why was Helly treated just like any other member of MDR? I think this is important. If she is the boss's kid, and she is, then you would think that she only needed to get severed because she believed it would help her father cut through some of the bureaucratic red tape that's holding Lumen back. But if that's true, then all she needs to do is be severed, exist on the floor for a few months, a reasonable amount of time, and make the claim that Severance is safe. But she certainly wouldn't need to work in MDR because that work is so important to the company, according to them. They, meaning the board, could even have her innie made aware of the whole situation, making it easier for both herself and the innie to follow through with the plan. Helly would wake up on the conference room table and everything would be explained to her from the jump. No confusion, no pretense, but that's not what happened, is it? After innie Helly tries to off herself in the elevator, why didn't they pull the plug on things right away? Why risk her life or take any chances after that? Could it be that Helly is there for more than just the PR thing? Interesting. If that was the case, it would mean that Helly isn't just filling a slot for PD, but that she's imbued with whatever magical trait that MDR needs and shares, and it also means that her character is far more likely to be a key character in the future. The only thing I can think of is maybe she requested to be treated like everyone else when she was down there, but I can't think of why she would do that. I think Helly will have a very important role to play when it comes to the rest of the story, and I'm almost certain of it. I think she will have influence on things as an outie mostly, maybe acting as an agent against Lumen, or because she has some change of heart, decides she wants to help her innie. I think the writers are going to use her position of privilege as a means to push the story forward by getting her to go against the board or take over the company and end Severance. If there is anyone in a position to do this, to harm Lumen, and has the temerity to actually try, it's this woman here. Like I said, I don't know how you would explain the existence of an innie Helly going forward in season 2, but if it ends up being the case, it would be a perfect way for the writers to continue this sort of tug of war between the two sides of her. And they could let innie Helly continue to be a catalyst for change as she's been so far. There are a few reasons to think that this character has been deemed special and poised to do big things story-wise. This character is already given that sort of chosen one aura by virtue of her being born in Egan, but she's also put in a situation where she gets to see the damaging effects of being an innie firsthand while also being a kind of royalty herself. You have to wonder, how would Helly respond to the kind of responsibility when she's finally made queen of the kingdom after having this experience? Would innie Helly try to erase her outie Helly? I think the answer is yes, and I'm inclined to believe that there is a strong chance this is how things end for her, barring the two women coming to some kind of agreement that involves the threat of assured mutual destruction. And finally, we have to talk about it, the matter of Mark Scout. We watched as these two characters were pushed together by the script, and circumstances took them to places that we never thought they would go. They started out being difficult co-workers and ended up going down a sort of romantic arc, or at least the beginning of one. Now, Mark's story is heavily tied to the discovery that his wife is still alive, technically, so the will they, won't they implications are powerful, but how will things pan out when it comes to this pair in the face of Gemma's existence? Well, brace yourself, because this is probably not the most popular prediction, but I think there is a higher chance that Helly and Mark will end up together than Gemma and Mark, given the circumstances. That's not to say that I prefer one scenario over the other. It's just a likelihood thing. Happy endings are nice, but I don't see Severance going down that route. I think Mark will reconnect with Gemma, but they will not be able to be together the way they once were. The reunion will be an opportunity for Mark to say his goodbyes and let go, and I think he's going to end up with Helly in the end. So that's it. This is where I see the character going and why I think that. Also, of course, I had to sprinkle some theories in there because that's what we do here. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, you already know what to do. So yeah, get in the comment section if you have some specific questions or specific videos you'd like to see me make on Severance. And there's another show that I'm going to start covering very soon. I'm not going to give it away yet. Some of you probably already know what it's going to be because it's the most requested show that I get. And I think it's time that I cover it. If you made it this far, you're a star. Be good to yourself, be good to others, and until next time, off you go.